Hey everyone. So in this episode, we're going to be kind of freshening up a pump, cat pump. So more specifically, we're going to get into the valve, which is a control valve, balance valve. It's got a lot of names. Unloader. We're going to call it an unloader for the purposes of this video. It's got a stuck unloader, and it's on a beautiful, rigid pressure washer with a Subaru engine. Now consider that this is, you may have it on, it might be on a rigid frame. It doesn't matter. Any pump that is driven by a gas engine is going to have this type of mechanism on it, and some of them are adjustable. Actually adjustable while you're using the machine. You might have a red top on it or something, or I have one with an AR pump with a black top. It's like a plastic thing, and you can turn it and you can adjust the pressure, coming out of the pump, low and high. This one is more fixed, it's set, and so this one's a little bit different. It hangs upside down, so we have to take the pump off the motor. And so we're going to focus in on that. And so the reason we're going to focus in on that is the complaint. This actually belongs to a friend of mine. Hey, Steve.
Hey!
And I will be doing the entire machine in another episode or episodes, but for this episode, we're going to just stay on the pump and this problem. And so here's the complaint. This is what you would observe or complain about, and we'll talk a little about that right now just to get it out of the way. So why I say unloader is one of its functions isn't to just balance and adjust the pressure, coming out of the pump, but the other function of this valve is as an unloader. So the scenario is you got your water into the pump, you turn the engine on, you pull the handle, and the pressure comes out. And so what you would hear in that sequence is you would hear the engine running at full RPM, sort of like unloaded, right, without any load on it. It's just spinning the pump. You pull the handle, pressure comes out of the wand, and you hear the engine strain. And it'll change RPM, right? And it'll, might shake a little bit or whatever because it's under load. And for a 3,000 PSI pump, that's a lot of pressure, so it's going to load down the engine. When you let go of the handle, you should then hear the engine unload, and you'll hear the RPM go up, and you can tell that the engine is not straining at that point, because that valve, it's like I said, its other function of its two functions is to unload. And so what it does is it bypasses the pressure side and dumps water sort of back into the input side, where the water's coming in, and sort of recycles it. And that's pretty important. It unloads the engine, it unloads the pump relaxes, it's not under the same level of pressure, it will cool down, it'll recycle the water, go into recycle mode. And if it doesn't work, if it's not working properly, it will either some combination of when you let go of the handle and the water stops coming out, it won't change anything. That motor is still going to be loaded up, that pump's going to be loaded up, and if you continue to leave it run like that, it's really hard on the pump will get very hot, and usually there's a red valve with a little spigot on the end of it. There's two of them. There's one on the pressure side, usually, and it's a vacuum actuated, and that's where the soap comes in. It's not that one. It's usually on the other end of the pump by the valves, and it'll start dumping hot water. And you can feel it. That water will be really hot. So if you put your hand underneath it, which be careful because it could be very hot. All right. So I don't advise doing it, but if you're far enough away and you can kind of go quick, you'll feel it. It'll be hot. And if it's peeing out of there, then your unloader's stuck, and you may not even be able to get the damn machine started. You're going to ruin the thing. All right. So that's really the problem. If it's really bad, and if it's kind of getting sticky, that's how it starts. It gets sticky. And what'll happen is you'll let go, and it might take a little bit, and then you'll hear the engine RPM change, and then it'll be seemingly okay. But it'll keep doing this, and it'll get worse. And this occurs because these things aren't put away properly. And towards the end of the video, or at the end of the video, we're going to talk a bit more about that, so I want to get into the video. Let me get you out here on this. I'll show you some tips and tricks on that. I also have another video on putting these things away. These are really nice pumps. They're very, very expensive. So we're going to go in there, we're going to clean it out. I'm going to show you what I do and what I did. And I came up with a way to make this really simple and really easy, using a little bit of Scotch-Brite, and you can even use a little bit of acid. But just going to show you what I do in this video to get this thing cleaned up, and at the end, towards the end, we'll test it out. It's a beautiful machine. Check this thing out. It's just gorgeous. I got it all cleaned up. So if you want to see more of going through it, I went through the entire engine, went over the entire machine, gave it back to him. These are expensive. So, and those Subarus run real sweet. So you want to take care of it, right? Because this isn't the cheapy, the cheapy box store. He bought it in a box store, but it's not the cheapy one with the lawnmower engine. Everything is all vertically mounted, and usually people blow those pumps out, and there's just not enough. There's not enough to work with. It can be fixed. You can put another pump on. You can't really fix those pumps. I've tried. There's some kind of voodoo and magic. I think they curse them from the factory so that you can never, fix them again. I've tried rebuilding them. This kind of pump, this CAT pump, and some of the AR pumps, they're very rebuildable. Don't do more than you need to do. This is a common problem, and let's get it fixed. Let's start the video. All right, I took the pump off, right, because it's upside down and we can't get into it. And you can see that's the spring. It's pressing on a valve in here. And when you turn that screw, I can't get the valve to come up. And it looks like, you're probably not going to be able to see it, but it looks like there's a seal there that's distorted. Now, what we want to do, I don't know where he had the setting originally, so I'm going to guess that we have it I set it about 1/2 inch out from the body. I'm going to see if I can get this whole valve out next, and we'll see if it's any good, and if not, well, we'll decide then. Alright, well, it's not as bad as I thought, but so what I got here is I got it out, and I'll show you as I put it together too. There's gook in there. You probably can't see it, but there's all kinds of gook. Let me see if I can put a light on for you. See it? Look! Look! Arch, cut it out. What are you doing? See, that little ridge is grease. There's grease. This is the valve. It's pretty clean. We're going to white grease it when we're done. Right? There's the inside of that guy. Going to clean that out. Also, I showed you the spring. And in here, right? And in here, it's not that bad in here, right? So the plan is, we're going to take a little bit of my solvent, and then I got one of my nice cartridge roll things, but we can't use a cartridge roll. Plan is to kind of shove this in, which is just, this is like older Scotch-Brite. It's not even like that bad. Well, I should say aggressive, right? Oh, let's just see if we can just kind of just get out some of it with a brush. But you want to polish it a little bit, yeah, because it's stained in there. You can't see it, but I can see it. It's stained. And it's stained up around here, too. So, now we could also put it in the acid, but I don't think we're going to have to. Right? Now, can I take a piece of this and do something like this? Yeah. Yeah, hold on. You know what? I want to put my gloves on. This is a very mild, it's like a mixture of stuff. Gas, oil, gum out, old gas usually, oily gas. It's not really that strong, so that's why I save onto it. Now, can we just, yeah, oh yeah, let's make that stop splattering. Oh yeah. Let's see how it works. Yeah, it's getting it. All right, that's what I'm going to do.
I could go to the more aggressive green, but I don't think we need to. Yeah, there's still some junk in there. I can see, you can't, but it's like, it's a staining. It's like a skidding. It's like something spinning and moving around there. So this is basically a pressure balance valve or an unloader. This one is only adjustable for maximum pressure or minimum, I would say nominal working pressure. I did adjust mine. I actually backed off quite a bit because this has got over 3,000 psi. So the idea is to unload because you got to unload the pressure. Oh, guys, I'll show you this stuff in a minute. Yeah, this is like non-destructive cleaning, but it needed it. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, I'm going to do the others, and I'm going to run it in here too. All right, and we'll put a little bit of yeah. We're going to be able to do this good, and I'm going to have to flush it through. Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. Now this doesn't have to be as clean because it's a cap, but we still want to get it clean. Yeah, she's beautiful. Oh, she's getting beautiful, fellas. I had a little brush. Oh, she got to clean up over here. Yeah, I know, fellas. Yeah, I know. All right, just gonna brush that out. I'm gonna clean this out a little bit more. This I'm going to just rinse off in here and just make sure it's clean with my brush and then dry it. I'm a little dirty right now, so I'm going to go do that, lay everything out on a blue piece of towel. We're going to blow this through. I don't think we need to check the caps. What we might want to do is run it because you really don't want to disturb these if you don't have to, and we don't know what else is going on. He said it ran fine. We're going to drop the oil in it, and when we put it in, we'll put some fresh oil too, so we'll take a look. Well, I think you can see in there. Should I take a little light? Yeah, see? That looks good. All right, and then the same thing in here. There we go. Yeah, she's all polished up. All right, good. Okay, so this valve goes in first, but we're going to put some white grease. All right? Clean up enough, a little bit of white grease, or a lot of bit of white grease. And that way we won't have any issues. Now we drop the valve in, which is nice and clean, as you saw. What's the screw for? It's to take it apart, to replace the seals and stuff. That's what the screw is for. It's actually 2 halves. But everything looks good there. All right, just make sure it goes down all the way. Yeah, it feels like it's about right. Yep, that's about where it was. Okay. Well, we got that. We're going to put a little grease. It travels up through here. Spring and everything. Get some on the O-ring. And I'm just going to run the spring over the wire wheel real quick. And we'll finish putting this together. So let's just tighten it back up. And we'll measure out for the distance. And then we got to clean the shaft. We're also going to put a little lubricant on this. This is pretty dry. Hear it? All right, so we're going to want to hose that down a little bit with my specialty lube. And then we'll drain this puppy. I guess probably the best thing to do is we'll put oil in it when it's installed, because we'll level everything out. And I'm just going to tighten that up before we put the spring on. It doesn't need much because it seals through. Okay, we can take this out for now. It's in good shape. That's it. It seals through the O-ring. All right, and now we're going to run this down. And then, like I said, and the other thing I want to do too is I'm going to spray that spring up. Yeah, it's actually not bad. It really isn't. But just want to run the wire wheel just over a couple of spots. Make sure it's clean. There's no rust or debris falling into that valve. And then I'm going to spray this up with some chain wax to keep it, from rotting or whatever. And it should be fine. Put it back. We'll tighten this down to the point at where we had it. And you should be good to go. So don't forget to measure this is your stop ring or your jam ring. So don't forget to measure it before you take it apart. I don't know what he did. He may have screwed up the adjustment. The only other way to adjust it is you need a pressure gauge on. You wouldn't put it here. You could, but the best place to put it is to really see is at the end of your nozzle before the handle, right? Just right at the handle. But it really doesn't matter as long as you're close, okay? Now look, I put some white grease inside this cup, this adjuster here. You don't want anything, water is going to get in, but you just don't want it corroding again. But look, it came out the top. Don't pack it, nothing like that. All right, I'm going to finish my adjustment. And then here, we're going to, like I said, we're going to use some of this stuff. We're going to make more. The magic sauce. All right, fellas, looking good, looking good. So customer came last night just as I pulled the plug on this to dump the oil. We were finishing up and, last customer of the day, which is nice. All right, let me clean this up. You're looking good, right? Everything looking good. Oil's filthy. It's shot. No doubt. You guys see? Ugh. Yeah, I'll get you in a little close. Hold on. Let me grab the other camera. We got one more thing to do, fellas. We're going to put oil in, but we got to mount it first, but that shaft's a little dirty. Let me show you. Yeah. It's pretty thick oil. Usually you put in about 20-40 or something like that. It's dirty, right? It definitely needs... Of course, I spilled a lot on the table. So I forgot to show you the oil from the engine. That was shot too. So we'll just get some clean 20-40 in there, and I'll put a little bit of friction modifier in from... I have a little bit left from my Lucas product. All right, even though it came off, fellas, we're just going to get rid of some of this gumming. Clean it down, maybe a little wire wheel, and then we'll put some new anti-seize on and we'll put it back. All right, that's better. Wiped off. I hit it with the wire wheel. You don't have to make it special, right? Because it went on, it came off. So we just want to give it a service. Put my my no seize on that. Let's put it back on. We'll fill up the oil in the pump. All right, I got the RPMs down, not at idle, but down. She's quiet. You're real quiet. It's got plenty of horsepower. I just washed the bag. Unloader's working good. Yeah, there we go. All right, this thing came out sweet. And I mentioned in a video that for a large part of my day cleaning all these machines, I spent like half a day cleaning machines. I actually was running the engine on a much lower RPM because I just didn't need all that pressure. This is more pressure than what I like. I like my AR pump because it's fully adjustable, or some of the other pumps that I use. We'll talk a little bit about care and feeding in a minute. You may have an idle down feature. My other cat pump actually had that. I removed it. They can be problematic, but it's a great idea. You have to lubricate the shaft that goes in there. There's a mechanism, and then the cable and all of that. You have to keep that clean and lubricated. Similar to this other valve that the unloader valve I just did in this video. If you don't, it'll jam up, and then you'll either have to bypass it or buy a whole new assembly. And that gets a little bit pricey. You'll ruin it if you don't take care of it. They are susceptible to that as well. I mentioned also the valves. Don't go in there unless you need to. You'll know because it'll be leaking like a sieve, and it won't be spraying pressure, and you'll see a reduction in pressure. And if you go in there, you can essentially do the same thing I did to the unloader valve, but you're going to need to get the seal kit.
the seals, the O-rings, etc. As long as you don't break the pump, and we're going to get to that in a minute as well. That's like over $100 today for those O-rings and everything. And if you're going to open it up, be prepared. Sometimes when you disturb them, you can break the valves. Some of these have these little plastic valve assemblies. It's like a valve in a cage, and if it's jammed up, you're going to wind up breaking those things, and then you're going to be unhappy. So I would say, when you're ready to, if your pump, like I have a couple that need to be rebuilt, they're leaking, and we're going to get into that in a minute. They're leaking inside the pump. It's very little, very, very little, but they just started. And so I'm going to open those pumps up. I think I've been in one of them before, but I'm going to open them up. Hopefully I'm successful getting in. You can mash up those valve caps and stuff, and I have an AR pump that somebody tried to get into something on the side and mashed it up pretty good. So I'm going to take mine apart, and then I'm going to order what I need, because I could wind up ruining a bunch of things, and not intentionally, it just stuck. So that's my advice on that. Don't go in there unless you need to go in there. Now, I didn't need to go in there, and I don't even think he really wanted me to, because what was really wrong was the unloader, and of course the engine wasn't running right, and that was the other part of it. That's another part of the series, so I'll leave the link in the description. Now, just briefly, I'll cover oil. Now, I used an oil modifier by Lucas, and I think I used like a 14. I forget what it is. It's a synthetic, semi-synthetic that I like to use in a lot of stuff. But I want to get, and here's a couple of examples. Now, first of all, if you go look up the model number of the pump that you're working with, whatever it is, and then get the spec'd out oil for that. That's the best way to go. Okay, if you just want to eliminate guesswork. A lot of times on some of the pumps, including my AR pump, it's actually listed on there, and it's like a 2040 or 1540. That's a more common weighted oil for these things, and a lot of times they don't even call out anything special. I also see pump oil out there, 10W30. You really need to know. Here's an example of a cat oil, and I can't tell you much about it. It doesn't really seem to show a weight, but if you want to, go for something like this, and then there's a Simpson oil, and they have a couple of different ones. You get them at Tractor Supply, Amazon, a few other places, even Home Depot, and I think Lowe's carries it. This is a 1540. That's what I find is in most of these. Usually these things are pretty thick, and that's what my AR calls out. So you can use a regular oil, but really what you want is an oil that is designed for these sort of gas-powered pressure pumps. There's a couple of additives I think that would be in these things, and I can't really verify. I'm not a professional on pumps. I'm just, this is the backyard experience of doing stuff. There's two things that you would really kind of want in the oil. Is one, you do want a variable weight because the temperature changes, so you do want a W, multi-rated oil, because you're going to go through that. I mean, I use mine in the winter as long as it's not freezing out. I'm always using a pump. That's huge for me. That is mostly what I do is clean crap. So I have a couple of the machines as a backup and for different reasons, because it's such an integral part of what I do at Arches Garage. So you want a weighted oil. The second thing is you'd want something with a bit of a corrosion inhibitor in it, because eventually water is going to infiltrate into the pump, and it could be, like with mine, when I emptied it out the first time, there was just a couple of drops. But it's enough to create a problem in the oil. So you want a corrosion inhibitor because that can start corrosion. And the second thing is you want something to reduce foaming, because that happens from the aeration, because the way these pumps work, so they can develop aeration, which is foaming, and then a touch of water in there, even just a couple of drops, that really can create foaming, and of course that would lead to early pump failure if you keep using it like that. So if yours is starting to do that and you're a little bit afraid, you can usually see it in the sight window, and the oil will foam up a little bit, and then it'll turn milky, and then a good oil, what it'll do is the water will settle out, let's say over a week or so, and you'll see it'll return back to its normal oily color when it starts happening. That's what it's supposed to do. If it's a good oil, for these kinds of pumps, it'll try to keep that water out of the way for a time. My advice would be is dump the oil, replace it. If you're not ready to do everything else and it seems to be running fine overall, and you don't really have the money, and start thinking about putting aside some cash if you want to do this. There's a lot of videos out there on rebuilding pumps, and I will have a new one out. I had an old one, I got rid of it. Eventually I'm going to go through some of my pumps, and I'll come out with these videos on rebuilding them. But there's plenty of people out there that have done it, so check out one of their videos. In the meantime, get that oil out, replace it. Just keep doing that every season. I don't know how often you're going to use it, so we're not really talking about professionals here. Professional pumps take that next jump up from where we are here at 3,000 psi or so, and they start getting into like 4,000 and up, and some of these machines are thousands of dollars. So that's a whole nother realm. And I mentioned about adjusting pressure. When you're into the point at which where you're really a professional and everybody's a professional, you're going to have pressure gauges, and you're going to be doing this right, and you're going to be measuring it and doing the preset of this regulator and unloader, and you're going to be measuring with the pressure gauge. You're going to be balancing it. So this is really budget, fellas. This is for the people that have the next level up, a better machine, and now need to take care of it. And we're going to get into care and feeding, end of year, and startup. Now, your average homeowner, especially here up north in the Northeast or in the colder climates, if you have freezing temperatures, you really need a pump protector. Okay. And this is nice. It comes in a pressurized can. I find I get about 2 seasons or so. You turn this in where, first of all, you got to get all the water out of the pump. I cheat a little bit, fellas. What I'll do is I'll disconnect the hose, I'll tilt the pump a little bit, but I'll turn the engine on for like a second, and it'll eject whatever's in the pump. It's not going to hurt it. Right? I know people say, oh, it's going to blow up. Yeah, lightning comes out of the sky, and then, everybody gets electrocuted, and then you win lotto, and your pump burns out all in the same day. No, it doesn't happen within like seconds. Get rid of that, and then shoot this stuff in there. And what it'll do is it'll put an antifreeze and a lubricant and a corrosion inhibitor into the pump. These brass pumps are really nice, but they're more resistant to corrosion than the aluminum pumps are, but they're not, they can still corrode, right? It's a brass, bronze, I don't know what the metal alloy is, but it will corrode. The valve got gummed up, right? So this'll prevent a lot of that, and it'll clean out some of it as well. And then you're good to go at the end of the year. Put the thing away. Also put some stable in the tank. And like I said, I have a video on that. You want to evacuate. What my friend Steven says, he usually just runs the thing out, which seems to work pretty good. Although he did have some gumming and debris and damage in his carburetor, but he got a lot of years out of it before that happened. So you want to consider that, because I had to go over his engine. At some point, I had to go over the engine. We needed a valve adjustment. The carburetor was gummed up. It was getting nasty. Oil needed to be changed. These kinds of things, you need to, there's loose bolts. So this kind of stuff, and the pump, right? It's going to happen. You're going to have to deal with this sooner or later. So that's my advice, is finish up at the end of the year, get all the water out of it. Very common for homeowners to just not even think about it. They shove it in their shed or in their shed's the worst place. If it's a garage that's not attached. Sometimes even the attached garages, if it's really cold, the water will expand, it'll freeze, it'll break the pump. It'll crack the pump. In particular, the aluminum pumps and the cheesy vertical designs. That's why I don't get involved in any of those, because it's just not worth it. Not worth it. There's no money left. I can't charge enough for a proper repair, and I can't make enough if I were to try to sell it. However, these pump arrangements, they're very nice. They're very versatile. I love the adjustability, like the red handle or the black handle. I like the differences in the pumps. Some of the ARs, I think, that's NOV, Reverberate, Italian. Those are very nice pumps. But they're all susceptible to the same problems, so none of them are going to last forever. They're all going to wear depending on how much you use it. So let me get you out of here on this. Don't forget to, at the end of the year, I can't stress this enough, if you use this more often, especially if you took the time to rebuild your pump, fellas, use this at the end of the year. Now, there really is no end of the year for me, unless it's my backup machine, which this is why I have this. I have this to show you guys, and I also have this for my backup machine, because I was just using my pump, nice pump, and machine setup, very similar to the one in this video, and I had it set up really good. It is an older machine. It's the Hurricane Sandy one, where I built one from 2 because it took in water, seawater or bay water, and it's done it's just done its job for me for so many years. And just the other day I went to use it to take it out to exercise a little bit. It has the cat on it, and I put the cat pump back on it, and I use it for sort of stuff where I really got to scour decks and things. And I went to restart it, and the pull rope broke, and I'm like, well, let me get the other machine. Let me get my other machine, because I'm not fixing it today. Today's not the day for it. I got everything lined up outside. Everything is out. I'm cleaning. This is cleaning day. It's not repair day. That's where you get into trouble. So that pump, if I don't fix it this year, if I don't, and who knows, I might get. I'm really busy, so it might be that I don't get to fix it, and I don't get to run that pump, that cat pump. I got to remember to put this in before the end of the year in case I don't fix it. All right, so that's just a reminder. It happens. That's why I have 2 machines or more. Let's have the electric one, because it's good for the very lightweight, low pressure stuff, which I'm going to go use right now. Actually, I'm actually going to go do something right now with a pressure pump. So I got to get you out of here on that thought. I'll see you guys on the next one. There goes the air compressor. Speaking of pump, right? Check out the rest of this video. I'll put the link in the description to going over the engine and everything. Just Subaru engines run. They're very quiet when you idle them down a little bit. You drop the RPM down. It's so much power, and it's more power than you'll probably ever need. And we're at the high, with these kind of setups, we're at the high end of the homeowner. We're just into like the entry, what I think of the entry level or prosumer of the professional. All right. Check out those other videos and that other video, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Archer's Garage.